Hey, what's going on guys? Tanmay here for Telesco Learnings and welcome back to another video tutorial under JavaScript for beginners, especially the jQuery UI part. So this is sort of like the 54th video I suppose in this entire playlist, wherein we started off with plain JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, then we moved on to a little bit of jQuery, and now we are on jQuery UI, which is another library built on top of jQuery library, which adds a lot of user interface functionality. So in the previous couple of videos, if you've been following this entire playlist, we've been going through a lot of jQuery UI widgets, which are basically adding user interface functionality features just by literally adding one single line of code, that is calling the inbuilt methods. We are creating different widgets like accordion, we've created message box, we've seen tooltips, we've seen date time picker and whatnot. So this is one of my favorite widget in jQuery UI, that is the autocomplete feature, which is basically added on top of a text box or anywhere wherein you input a value. So the reason why it is my favorite is because it's not really enhancing the user interface in terms of looks, but it is adding a little bit of feature of searchability. So just to give you an example of what exactly this autocomplete means in our current context, autocomplete means when you type in something in the message box, let's say I'm searching for a city, so if I say M, so once I say M, I should be getting some suggestions based on cities which are starting from M, right? So you've seen this feature pretty much everywhere, wherever there is search features, So the very basic example can be Google search, right? So if I just go on Google, if I just type in hello, you can see I'm already getting a lot of suggestions. Hello Google, hello brother, or whatever the recent type of search is. I'm already getting all these suggestions. So this is basically called as autocomplete feature. Now this is one of the very important features whenever we talk about real world applications. If you're building a website, if you're building some web application where there is a lot of search happening, you definitely are going to be needing this autocomplete feature, because it will obviously add a lot of enhancement for the user, because he doesn't then actually have to search a lot of things, right? If he can see it in the autocomplete, he knows that that thing that he's searching for is already there. So coming to our web page, what I've already done is I've added a h3 tag which says autocomplete widget UI, and then inside a division which has the ID of my divs. So I've given it a styling of 2 pixel border. So that's this purple border, and a padding of 5 pixel. Let me add a little bit more, I'll say 15. And then I have a label, and then I have an input tag with the ID of city text box. Okay. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in some city name, and then automatically the suggestions should pop up, and that feature can be added in jQuery UI. So a quick recap, if you have missed any of the previous video tutorials, or if you don't know jQuery UI, basically jQuery UI is a library which is a JavaScript library based on jQuery core library. So that's why we have these many links to the CSS which corresponds to jQuery UI, and then we have two script tags. First one is the jQuery core library, and the second one is the jQuery UI library, and it has to be in this order only, that is the jQuery UI library should always be below the core jQuery library. Okay, now we have opened up another script tag over here, inside which we are going to type in all the code for jQuery UI. So what we'll do is we'll quickly select this text box by using the ID. So the ID of this text box is, you can see, city text box. So we've already seen what are selectors in jQuery. So I'm going to use the ID selector by using the hash. I'm going to say dot, and the inbuilt method name to add this autocomplete feature is called as autocomplete itself. So the name itself makes it evident. So this is a method in jQuery UI. So it is an inbuilt method which adds this autocomplete functionality. Now obviously you need to pass a data set through which the autocomplete should work, right? So let's say you are searching for cities in this case. So we need a list of cities already, right? Which we have to search through. Only then the autocomplete will work. So in this method, we have to pass an array of all the items that we want to search. So what I'll do is I'll quickly create an array over here. I'm going to say var my cities equal to, I hope you know how to create an array. We've already seen this. So there you go. You can see I've already created an array, and I've passed all the city names whichever I could think of instantly. So you can pause the video and you can add your own city names inside this array. So what we have to do is we have to pass in these arrays inside this method as parameters. So this autocomplete method takes in two parameters, and when we pass parameters in this method, we pass it as options. Those are called options basically, and they have to be in curly braces. So if you've seen any of the widget videos previously, we pass everything in curly braces, right? In this case, there are two curly braces because there are two parameters that we're going to be passing. The first one, again, this is an object. Inside this, we will pass the source. Okay. Now the source over here is this array. So I have to say source, and then I have to pass the array name. Okay. So once I do this, I have basically actually covered the autocomplete feature. So what are these two curly braces for? So this is for some extra options which we will see in a minute. Right now, let's see if our autocomplete works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in new and you can see there are 3 different cities: New Delhi, New York and New Jersey. So let's see if the autocomplete works. So in the text box, when I type in N, you can see I'm getting all the suggestions which are having the keyword of N. And it's not just the cities which are starting with the letter N. Any city which has the letter N is shown up over here. And it even works for small caps and all caps, so it is, even if it is in lowercase or uppercase, it doesn't matter. You can see Panjim is a city which has N in it and it is in lowercase. Pune is a city, it is having N in lowercase. So now let's type in another word. I'm going to say NE. And now you can see the search has more refined because it is searching for a pattern of NE inside the entire text. You can see Pune has PUNE. So NE is over here also. And then all the 3 results are new, which means we are refining the search. So when I type in W, the suggestion box should not have Pune in it. So I'm going to click W and there you go. Now we have all the 3 cities which are having this keyword of NEW. So even if it was in small caps NEW, you can see we are getting the 3 suggestions only. Now you can select any one of this. So this is our very basic autocomplete feature, and you can have a little bit more customization in terms of options, and those things we have to pass in this second curly braces pair. So I'm going to hit enter over here. Now a few options I'm going to show because there are not a lot of options over here that we can customize, because basically we've actually achieved our feature, that is the main functionality. But let me just show you the 3 different options. So we have autofocus equals to 2. So by default the focus is there. If I see MUM, you can see there is some focus already on this. So if I say autofocus equals to false, and now if I type in NEW, nothing is in focus, right? So when I say true, and now when I type in new, the first one will always be in focus. Okay, so this is that autofocus parameter. Then we have delay. So the delay is after typing in, how much time should it take for the suggestions to come up. So if I say 500, so this is in milliseconds. So when I type in NEW, it will take 500 milliseconds. You can see there was a little bit of delay. So if I add a little bit more delay, let's say 2000, which means 2 seconds. So when I type in NEW, you can see it is taking 2 seconds, right? You had to wait for some time and only then the suggestions came in. So usually this is not used, and the delay is always usually kept at 0. So we'll keep it at 0. Now this is pretty much used a lot, minimum length, which means that after typing 2 letters, only then the suggestions will come up. So if I keep it at 3 and if I say NE, you can see we are not getting any suggestions because the minimum length is 3. So I need to type in 3 letters for the suggestions to come up. So if I say W now, you can see immediately I'm getting the suggestions. So this is the minimum length, and it is typically kept at 2 at least. We don't want the autocomplete to pop up if we have a lot of suggestions or if we have a lot of data set over here. And if we just type in one word, the entire autocomplete will be populated with a lot of names, right? So you want a pattern over here. So that's why sometimes the minimum length is greater than 1. At times it is 2 or 3. So yeah, this was a very basic autocomplete feature, and you can dynamically load these values also. Obviously this is something that we are doing in the front end, right? But this can be some JSON array which you are fetching in from some other API or pulling in some data from some other location, and then you are populating it. So that can also be done. You can directly cut this and put it over here also. Just comment this out. So instead of creating a array variable, you can do it over here also. Okay, I forgot to add a semicolon, I suppose, over here. Let me just change the minimum length to 1. And let's see if this works. I'm going to say N. So you can see, there you go, the suggestions are still working. So you can directly add the source over here. And as I mentioned, this source can be coming in from any other API, from JSON feed, or some dynamic feature behind the scenes if you're using some server-side scripting also. So yeah, this was the autocomplete feature using single line of code, that is the autocomplete method in jQuery UI. And this is a very important feature and functionality which you can add in your projects. So yeah, that's it for this video guys. This was the autocomplete widget in jQuery UI. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments